Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now's the time when you've got to start thinking about your Microteach lesson. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to plan your lesson and how to get this down in paper in an appropriate format. Now, this is a template that you'll find available on our virtual learning environment. Most of it is self-explanatory, but I'm going to guide you through the process just in case. So, teacher is yourself. The learning group, for this moment in time, leave that blank because closer to the date, or actually during the date, we will put the group name and title in this section. And the date, likewise, we'll fill that in on the day. Tutor observer will be myself, that's Dan Kirk, so put my name in there. Resources required, any specific needs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my example. So, I've got a lesson here. Okay, I've listed my resources required, any specific needs. I'm just going to talk you through my process. So my learning objectives are to understand the function of basic computer hardware found inside a case. Oh, I don't know why I put the. Got rid of that. There we go. So that is what the learner is going to learn, what they're going to achieve. It doesn't have to be very complicated. I would recommend doing an understand objective because you're not going to have a huge amount of time to do anything other than that. Underneath this section, in the timings section, this is how long you plan for a certain activity to take. I don't want times because we're not going to be 100% sure on the specific time, just a rough idea in minutes. The topic, what's the task name? The welcome. Now, I've included this, and you should include this as well, because if it's the first time you have met a group, it's very important that you do establish the ground rules. So I've included that. So the teacher activity, what are you going to be doing? I'm going to be explaining the ground rules, and I'm going to provide an opportunity for the learners to agree to them or add anything else if they feel that necessary. What are the learners going to be doing? Well, they're just listening, and if they have got anything to add, then they will add that at the end with the question and answer session. It'll just be a simple question. Do we all agree with this? Yes or no? And we'll move on. Now, the main introduction, I will open the computer case, remove various pieces of hardware in the case and explain what they are for. The learners at this stage will just be listening to my visual demonstration. Are there any learning checks in this individual chunk? Well, no, not really, because they're just listening. So I've just made a point stating that there are no learning checks at this opportunity, but there will be in the next tasks. My main activity, I have decided to issue a selection of cards, so a card sorting activity with some images of the computer hardware and a selection of definition. What are the learners going to be doing? Well, I'm going to ask them to get into pairs or groups and link the images to the correct definition. How will I check that learning's taking place? Well, during that activity, I can be walking around the room and actually peering over people's shoulders, asking them questions if need be. This is a classroom walk around. That is a method of checking learning, absolutely. And to finish my lesson off, my plenary, I've requested that the groups select a piece of hardware off the desk. So on my desk, I've got a few pieces of hardware. I'll request individuals to go and pick up a piece, and they will read out their definition to the group. Once that definition has been read out, I will then ask the rest of the cohort to see whether or not that is the correct definition. If not, then I'll provide help and guidance in order for that individual or group to get the correct definition. And that pretty much sums up my Microteach lesson plan. In this section here, resources required, I have explicitly explained that I will need the sorting cards. If you're telling me that you need some resources, you will have to make them and bring them to the training session. I've also stated that I'm going to need a computer case with some hardware inside it, and also a screwdriver to open the case, etc. Now, it's been made aware to me that I have a learner that's visually impaired. What I've decided to do for this is just print out the definitions in a much larger font than I would do normally. I've decided to give this to the whole group, not just the individual with the with the visual impairment, because I don't want it to be obvious that this learner has got a special need. So I've tried to be as discreet as possible by giving the whole class the same large cards. English, Maths and ICT opportunities. You will not find all three in one small Microteach, but you need to just think about it. Now, my activity involves some reading and some comprehension. I might need to spend a little time explaining to individuals certain reading techniques, whether they're having to skim, scan, or read for detail. It is everybody's job to teach maths, English within whatever lesson you're teaching. So it's really important that you think about where those opportunities lie. As I said before, you don't have to find them in every single lesson. Some of them can be really quite a tedious link, so it's not worth including. But you just need to be aware and think about how maths and English and ICT could be used in this lesson. To expand on this, if I had more than 15 minutes, I could ask my learners to create a presentation on the pieces of hardware. That would hit the ICT opportunities. For the mathematics attribute, I could get my learners to do a bit of research into the costings of these pieces of hardware and to price up for pieces of computer hardware. So there are opportunities to get maths, English and ICT, but probably not so much in our short 15-minute Microteach. On the actual training day, please remember to bring your lesson plan, whether printed or by hand, I'm not too bothered, because you will need these for your notes. Please bring 2 copies of these, one for myself, who will be observing your lesson, and one for you. And that concludes this tutorial on how to complete the Microteach lesson plan. I hope you've got some ideas in what you'd like to teach. As I've said to you before, it is completely up to you. Do keep it simple, however. Don't make it too complicated. Upload your lesson plan onto the virtual learning system once you are happy with it, so that I can check that it's fit for purpose. Thank you for listening.